All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate everybody joining us here today for this training. We're convening both the IFC tag and the International Building Code tag. We're not planning on any actions being made at this meeting, so if we don't have quorum for either one group, there's no issue. This is all just informational today. But on that note, since we have the possibility of having a quorum of each group, we're going to take a roll call and just make note of folks who are here so we can do some minutes for this meeting and get rolling. So I'm going to begin with the IBC tag roll call, and I'll lead off with Todd Bayreuther, which I'm not seeing in attendance here today. Next up, Roger Hiringa.
I am here.
Thank you. And then for the architect primary, Joe Mayo. Not seeing him in attendance today. For the alternate, Chef Fortaleza. I'm not seeing her in attendance here today. For our building official primary, Tim Woodard. Not seeing him in our list today. For the alternate, Steve Belzak.
I'm here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For fire services representative primary, Lance Dahl. Don't see him in our guest list. For the cities and counties primary, Hoyt Jeter.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. For the affordable housing representative primary, Todd Sullivan. Not seeing him in attendance today. For the general contractor or developer, Bill Mybush.
Present.
Thank you. For manufacturer supplier primary, Brian Horseman. I don't see him in our guest list today. For structural engineer primary, Josh Mergens.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Trent Tenney. Don't see him with us today. For persons with disability or accessibility expert primary, Michael Shaw.
Present.
Thank you. For the building owner property manager primary, Brett Conway. Don't see him in our guest list here today. For the general public subject matter expert primary, Michael Barth. I'm not seeing him in attendance today. For the alternate, Leah Summer.
Here.
Thank you. For the state enforcement agency primary, Paul Clark.
Here.
Thank you. And for the fire protection engineer primary, Andy Leonto. I don't see him in attendance here today. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have a quorum of that group present here today. And then moving on to the IFC tag group, starting off with the primary chair, Dan Young. I'm not seeing him in our guest list today. For the alternate, Roger Hiringa, I heard you on the IBC tag, so I'll mark you down as present.
Still here.
For the architect primary, Ning Wang. I don't see them in the guest list. For the alternate, Jacob Liddycoat. I don't see him in the membership today. For our building official primary, Quinn Tai.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Ray Shipman. Don't see him in the guest list today. For fire official, fire marshal primary, Ken Brulette.
Present.
Thank you. For the cities and counties primary, Hugo Sotelo. Not seeing him today. For home builder, affordable housing developer primary, Mike Nykram. Don't see him in the guest list today. Bill Mybush, I have you present again for this one.
Okay.
For manufacturer supplier primary, Ricky Campbell.
Present.
Thank you. For fire protection engineer primary, Walker Danucci. Not seeing him in the guest list. For the alternate, Dave Cocott.
Present.
Thank you. For fire sprinkler industry primary, Sean Morgan.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Kevin Marr. Not seeing him in attendance today. For general public subject matter expert primary, Samir Mokashi. Don't see him in our attendees list. For the alternate, Seth Henderson. Do not see him today either. For fire alarm industry primary, David Mao.
Present.
Thank you. For the alternate, Zachary Tuck. Don't see him in the guest list. And then for the fire chief primary, Lance Dahl. Looks like he's still not with us today. And looking, we got 1, 2, 3. We also have a quorum of the fire tag with us today. I'll take this opportunity to recognize members of the public who wish to be recognized at this meeting. If you just raise your hand, I'll call on you. All right. Oh, we have Elizabeth Torsky.
Yep, I'm Elizabeth Torsky with Cascade Natural Gas. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Anybody else from the public who'd like to be recognized here today? All right, looks like most everybody else here is a member of the tag. Then we'll get rocking to item number 2. So just some background on this one. We have a tool that was voted on by the council in 2015 to be used for doing some cost benefit analysis on our code proposals. With the digging I've done, I haven't seen much guidance on how to use this tool. And talking with Krista and some other folks, it seems that it's really not geared towards building code change proposals. It's more geared towards property development by state venues. But this one is the tool, and I want to just be clear, it's not the only tool. If we look at our code proposal form, if you want to use something else to justify cost analysis in your proposals, there's other tools out there. I don't have a good bead on what would be one that's most appropriate for us to use. So I've been wrangling this 2016 Office of Financial Management cost or life cycle cost analysis tool. During one of our last meetings last week, Dave Cocott said that, in the previous code cycles, the people doing code change proposals did the best they could, and they didn't use all the fields available within the tool. So I'm going to try to give some guidance on what exactly we're looking for within this tool. Some of the things that might not be blatantly apparent when we're working with it, and to answer any questions you might have, and to maybe update a tip sheet that I've been developing to use with this one. I've got some updates I need to make to a couple documents I want to email out to you guys after this meeting. We've been gathering some information to update some data that would be in here as far as baseline data for you guys to have pre-filled in there. And I think that's all I have for my opening remarks on this one. There's 3 documents I'm hoping to get out to you guys. One is this tool with some fields that are kind of pre-filled to reduce a little bit of work for you guys. There's a methodology sheet, which is going to have some numbers that we have the updated information. We just haven't had the chance today to update this sheet for dissemination to you guys. The methodology sheet, I have the old one available here for us to use today as we're going through this. And we will talk about where that information can go. And then there's the meat and potatoes of this one, which is how we're using this to justify some cost increase or just cost effects as a result of the code proposal. So first, I'm gonna pop open the tool itself and share my screen with you guys so you can see what you're gonna look at when we first open this up. So here we go. So when you guys open this document up, it looks like a major Excel workbook. It's got all kinds of tabs along the bottom here. We are not going to be using all of these tabs. We're only going to be using about 4 of them total. 3 of them will require some work from us, and then the 4th tab that we'll be using will actually be the excuse me, the report generated by this tool. So we'll start off. We have some quick things to keep in mind here. It's small and not super apparent as far as colors and things like that right here on this first page. But anything with a light blue tint in it is they're calling a primary user input, and anything with a tan tint to it is going to be a secondary user input. Anything that is a white block, or I don't know if this is pink or purple, or a gray block, is going to be something that's locked for editing. So if you're trying to mess around with those, it's not going to let you. So that's just a quick overview of this first one. We're going to skip over to the general info tab. On this one, I'm going to be looking to ask for very minimal information here, since this is talking about property specific stuff for this tool to be used here. I'm going to ask for a project name for you to give just a quick description of your code change proposal. For example, Ken Brulette submitted one on adoption of a new Appendix O. I would just put in here for the project name, Appendix O proposal. And then as an address in here, I would like for the groups to put in the location in the code where we're going to find these code change proposals going to. For this one, I just stuck in a random number for IBC 102.7 as an example. The rest of this, are you guys seeing my screen? I just noticed.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed a dialog box that said allow some multiple shares or something, so I just want to double check. So project name, describe the proposal as succinctly as possible. For address, give us a code number that is relevant to the code change proposal. And then the rest of the project information, we're going to leave blank. There's not much information we would use there for part of our analysis of code change proposals. For the user information, I'm planning on getting this stuff pre-filled out for you, except for the user first name and last name. We'll either be putting in here the SBCC IFC tag or IBC tag, then the usernames. And I've got my direct line put in here and the SBCC general mailbox in here. So if there's questions on what's coming in on these, they'll come to me and to the general inbox. This key variables section is a section where we can potentially make some changes if we want to. The Office of Financial Management has a general one here. If we click this radio button, all the values will default back to here, to the building life being 50 years, the real discount rate being 44%, and standard maintenance escalation 100%. And general inflation being at 3.01%, and the study period is always going to be 50 years. So on here, I have a sheet to go along with this one, and let me pop it up on the screen real quick. This one right here is the one from our 2018 code cycle. Some of these numbers I have to get adjusted here. We just got some information back on getting those adjusted. So after this meeting concludes, I'll update this sheet and get it emailed out to you. This will tell you what information to put in a couple places here. And this is one of the spots right here that we're getting to. So for the real discount rate, we have a line item here for that one. We would enter that at 1.93% in here if we so we would fill that out. So 1.93, that can be put in. The standard maintenance escalation is not part of this sheet, and I'll get you something for that one, but we'll probably leave that one in here as is for now. And then general inflation, we got 3.01 is the same on this one. So if we get the data back that's a little bit different than that, that number might change in there. And that's all we'll be looking to finish altering in this sheet. As I get this stuff, the information back to look at this sheet on the right, I'll update this stuff here in the user column and I'll save it and I'll shoot out a pre-filled form for you guys that has that in here. But as we do our work, we want to make sure that this user radio button is selected. That way any of these rates are used throughout the rest of the form. This base year is going to be set to 2024, and then that sets the total so that the report generates out a time frame that's relevant to what we got going as far as the labels. Everything else is kind of straightforward as far as what we got going. So this one's the pretty simple, easy page. This sets up the form for us to use. And if I haven't touched on any of these fields, it's because the desire is to leave them blank and not mess with them. Is there any questions so far on this before I get rocking? This is the appetizer, the meat and potatoes is coming on the next screen. All right, I see no hands. So we're going to move over to the baseline input tab. I'm going to maximize this so we can see it. We won't need the assumptions or I'm sorry, methodology sheet for most of this here. One of the things that is not super apparent on this sheet is there's a little button up here at the very top left in column J1. And if you click it, it lets you sort some stuff in here. So as far as what this does in the sheet, there's not a whole lot of effect it has out here in the fields. But what it will do is change some labeling over here, which will come out in the final report. So you'll notice I have a other category here that's highlighted blue, so we could change that. But this sheet is also built with a lot of categories already built in here. So as I was wrapping my head around using this sheet, we're looking to come through here and hit the select all. This is going to drop down all categories available in the base of this sheet for viewing. And as it does that, you see they all dropped out. And they are subdivided. I guess I should go over some of the major subdivisions in here first. Let me do that. So in here, as far as the major subdivisions of data that they have built into this one, we have substructure items, we have shell of the building items, we have interior items, services, equipment and furnishings, special construction and demolition, building site work, other costs, one-time upfront costs, and reoccurring annual costs. So if we come through here and we expand it all, depending on what we're making a proposal on, we might have a pre-filled line item in here that we can just go ahead and use. As you scroll down here and look through what's going on, the relevant stuff that I have built into this report right now are further down here in kind of the fire service features section. Let me scroll on down. There it is. So I have other special fire protection systems, and I've got some stuff filled out in here. If you want to use one of these lines and you want it visible when everything's collapsed, you have to put a little X here in the show column, and that X will signify to the report formulas that we still want that to be shown. I have one other marked in here for some viewing pleasure down at the bottom in the others section right here, just a general other. So if you have a code proposal that doesn't align with anything else that's already built into here, go ahead and just choose one of these other categories, and you can click in here and change it to, IBC 102.7, admin administrative, and then that'll become the label in here. So that's been my first step in both the baseline input and the alternate one input. And once I get those things selected and kind of worked out, I'll come back and hit select all to take them all off. And then you have to select number one for these labels and things to work. And it's reformulating that. And so we have that here. So The next part, after you get done with this one, you need to you have to ask yourself a question that relates to your proposal. Is that question is, does the proposal require utility usage like gas or electricity? I would say that for the bulk of the proposals coming out of the IBC and IFC tags, that they won't have any utility usage associated with them. If you do have utility usage associated with your proposal, there's some information that will be on the methodology sheet that you'll put in here, and that will help it fill out and generate the numbers through the report. But for the most part, most of the IBC and IFC tag proposals, we're not going to worry about this whole top section right here in this report, and we're going to only enter information on the line that we have selected for the report data entry. As we get into here, so when we're making entries into the required fields, we're going to reference the methodology sheet. Some numbers that we're going to be putting in here are going to be generated by the proponent of the proposal. So there's not going to be a whole lot of data on where this number comes from. It's going to be a generalized number, and this thing's going to work it out for a life cycle cost of this whole thing. Most of the proposals will not require more than one unit in there. I did see one of these from our 2018 proposal where somebody went through here and entered 32 units when they were doing for, I believe it was smoke alarms, no, is exhaust fans, I'm sorry. They wanted to consider 32 unit apartment complex, and so they put 32 units, and then they had all the information in here entered for a single smoke alarm, and it was multiplied by the number of units as the this report worked its magic. The next part of this one for useful life in number of years is must be more than 2. That's a critical feature of this report. If it's less than 2 years, the report wants to consider it I don't know what my thing is thinking on. It wants to consider it a maintenance cost, and so we'd be looking to put information as far as the installation cost in this maintenance cost column instead of the installed cost. But if the useful life is less than 2, you still have to put it in there as 2, but you'd put the installed cost at 0 and maintenance cost at whatever the installation cost is going to be. The installation cost is just that. It's the initial cost of the unit and installation. And we put that in here, and I just put random numbers in here so we can kind of see how this report spits out information. And then maintenance costs. So I was thinking sprinkler systems in here. And I know my numbers are way low for installation of a sprinkler system, but I just put numbers in that are round. And so if the installed cost is 500 and you've got annual inspections and maintenance that costs $100, the total component installed cost is just $500. And then the report in some of these other tabs spits out a resulting life cycle cost as it increased over the years. Before we leave this baseline input page, there's one other aspect about this that we're going to use 2 kind of metrics as we move forward into this one. The baseline input, I want you guys to put information in here that reflects the code section as it stands before a proposal is made on it. So the status quo information. And then the alternate 1 input tab is all the exact same information, except for I want you guys to put this information in reflecting the change in cost as a result of the proposal, whether it be less money, more money, equal money, or I guess if it's equal, there's no economic impact. But if we put 2 differing sets of data into these, we will be able to see the change in cost as a result of a change in the code language. Is everybody kind of follow me on that request at the moment? We do the status. Go ahead, White.
So you got base input, Okay, so then alternate one is kind of base input, alternate one, base input, alternate two, right? So basically all three of these are base inputs. There's just three different alternates. Is that correct?
Correct. And I don't intend to have you guys use an alternate two unless you guys have alternate data that would be that's part of the proposal if you had an option one or option two or something like that.
No, I wanted to understand the difference between base input and then alternate one. That's kind of what I was. So basically you got at the max, you have three different cases you could use. Your first one is what you think's first, and then you kind of come up with another one would be number two.
Right. So imagine, so this one's a worksheet for doing real estate development for state facilities. So imagine baseline input's going to be building one. We have an alternate building or an alternate design for alternate one and potentially an alternate two input. And that'll spit out a comparison between buildings or designs as a result of using this sheet. Micah?
And thanks. Just going to point out on the base input tab, if you want to go back to that, this may be helpful. If you go up to the review link at the top,
Yes.
select notes
And
and
show
show all notes. There's a lot of user information for those drop downs that may be beneficial for folks in this spreadsheet. Again, that you can toggle that on and off, of course, just by turning off the notes. But that may be helpful in some of that, what these mean sections, because, you know, I know I take notes, but when you running through it, I may still forget stuff. Thanks.
I appreciate the knowledge and the pointing that out, Micah. That's actually a big help. Is these notes here really help me understand what in the heck's going on here. The one thing I couldn't figure out is how to turn one on at a time. I think you can go through here and select them to show them one at a time, but it's not something I was dedicating a lot of time to figuring out. I just figured out how to turn them all off and on at the same time. There is a number. Oh, never mind. I thought there was a missing number in there. So, I will update my tip sheet to make sure you guys know how to turn these notes on and off as well in here. Let me just make a note real quick. Okay. So we're turning the notes off. And like Micah said, they kind of describe the content of each one of these cells or groupings of information. So just as a quick run through, I entered some stuff in here on this line for other special fire protection systems. These are all mumbo jumbo numbers. I don't have any specific proposal that I've been using to put these numbers in. For the alternate one input, I put in some alternate numbers in here. And then for fun, I also did it in the alternate two input. And so what generates out of that is what's in the these reports out here. So the executive report is basically the one that I'm hoping we get and we're using if we're going to upload information as a result of the use of this tool. This report here is going to be the one that has almost all the information in it for our digestion later. So it has all the individual information that we put in here, some of the stuff at the very beginning for the percentage rates that are going in there. And then we have life cycle cost analysis numbers. I haven't gone through here to compare how these numbers are put out, but as I do understand that they are results of all the tabulation of stuff going into here. So one of the things I like is I'm a visual person. So as you can see, we have three different life cycle lines based on, you know, the original one I had in there pretty much at $500 as an install cost, and then $100 annually for maintenance. I believe the next one I had at $450 for an install cost and like $75 annually for a maintenance fee. And then I had $600 and like $120 as a maintenance fee on this one. And so it spits out some graphs and stuff like that. Here, we have an expenditure report which tabulates it by annual. We've got the baseline stuff here for alternate or for baseline, alternate, and one. For 2024, it's just the initial install. And then as we go through subsequent years, it is difference by the annual maintenance cost in here, and it just tabulates it up for 50 years for us. And for some reason, this cumulative expenditure report keeps on going down for, let's see, 100 years. And I'm not sure why that's doing it that way. And annual expenditure summary, baseline expenditures report. This is all information we can utilize as we make our economic impact analysis and report for the final code adoption. Some baseline reports. I haven't had the time to go through and actually analyze all of the outputs of this report tool. The main goal of the training here today is to kind of give you guidance on where to look and where to input information and really what to ignore as you go through doing the work in here. And we just have more detailed reports on the alternate 1 and alternate 2 detailed reports. And fuel escalation page, this is stuff that was built into it previously, and we're getting into stuff that I haven't had a chance to review much for carbon externality. Are there any questions so far here? I know I've blazed through it really fast.
I have a question here.
Okay.
So some of the proposals I'm going to be putting forth on behalf of the TAG really are not cost quantifiable. I can input information into this sheet the best that I can and maybe provide some explanation. Is that the appropriate way to handle it? Because like I said, some of these proposals just really aren't determinable in cost.
So I guess as far as they're not determinable, does that mean that there's really no cost associated with them?
Well, the one example is talk about using the ASCE snow maps versus the Washington snow maps, which vary. Sometimes the ASCE will be higher, sometimes SAW will be higher, and we certainly can't look at every address in the state to determine what an overall cost is. It just, you know, in certain situations like that where this truly is not applicable, and it truly isn't in that case. I mean, what is our best course of action? Fill it out to what we can, showing no cost difference and adding a letter of explanation, or where would we go from there?
I think on this one, we would look to the code proposal sheet on here to maybe mark it as there is. I mean, if we use one or the other, it has impact on specific projects, but as an overall there, we're trying to clarify the intent of the code by selecting the one map or the other. And I would, you know, I'm of a mind to say that that one doesn't necessarily have the economic impact. And I would like to hear from maybe others in the room who might have an opinion on that one, because it is kind of gray on that one. So is anybody else have any input on?
Yeah, I do. This is like, there's no way you could quantify an economic impact exactly on that on the snow loads. Like, I mean, in one place it may be a little bit higher, but another place could be a little bit lower. That I think in those type of situations, that's where you put in, similar you do in the ICC when it says cost impact. There's a place that there's no cost impact. Right there where it says, is there impact? You say no, and then you just state the reason. And then I don't think you have to do, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, you don't have to do A and B if you say there's no economic impact in it, if you give a reason statement. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
All righty. So just to get back to, I don't have a whole lot more to present on this. I would just kind of go through and we can maybe put some numbers in here ourselves just to see what you want. Like if you guys are interested, we can fill out this line that I had marked in here and we can see what else is added to the report. Or we can get 30 minutes back to our day and move on. And I'll be able to spend some extra time pre-filling this for folks and getting the tip sheet I have going finalized and finalizing any of the general information for right here, get that stuff nailed down and filled in, and update the methodology sheet here for you guys. So it's the trainings for you guys. So if you have questions, ask them. If not, I would move towards kind of adjourning this meeting and getting the information out there to you guys that you need to continue this work. Roger, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, remind us how we will get this information. Like, where will we get a link? Will you send us this as an Excel file?
So I'll send you guys the plan here is for me to send out pre-filled versions of this to both the IBC and the IFC tags. So within the email, you'll have a Excel spreadsheet. You're going to have a Word document that's going to be the tip sheet. And then you're going to have a methodology sheet that's going to have some of the information that's going to be changed here. But I want you guys to have that one because there's some other stuff that it indicates as being a proponent-driven data field. And so you guys will get that independently as tags. For the rest of the public, I intend to put this up on our 2024 page, and I'm going to have a cost analysis tool link there that'll have all the same 3 documents, but they're not going to be pre-filled for anybody.
Okay.
Micah?
Thanks, Dustin. I just want to point out that the link to this spreadsheet is on the code change proposal forms. And there's some webinar links there and instructions. But I also wanted to, it sounds like you're wrapping this up, but I did have some questions on, is this life cycle tool relevant to items B through F on the economic impact statements for these code change proposals? So there's an A through F. The life cycle tool is A, but then there's all these other components. And does this tool assist in the other components, or is this just the standalone, only gives you the life cycle cost and is not relevant to the rest of it?
Well, that therein lies kind of my rub on not really liking this tool and wanting to find something different. But what I will say, so as far as this tool kind of covers that. I think that this tool could help you with B as well, as far as displaying that information. As you input on your baseline in alternate 1 and alternate 2 lines for the installed cost, you could put your number here that would be the price of any unit that might need to go in and the construction cost, and potentially in here also the code enforcement cost in there. That's going to be all proponent driven information and will be kind of best guess scenario in there. So there's no help here as far as identifying what those costs are, but if you have an idea what they're going to be, this tool could help you display them. And then over here on the right hand side, there's a oops, sorry, went too far. There's a user notes section. So you can, like the one that I mentioned earlier that was filled out for exhaust systems, they put in here that we wanted to quantify 32 units within an apartment complex, and that's what they're doing their line on. So if you had a installed cost, I would put in here unit cost is X, installation cost is B or as Y. And then as far as code enforcement cost, if you have an idea on it, that would be Z in there. And you would just add those all up to be the total in the installed cost. And that's kind of my suggestion on doing that, but it's by no means the only method of presenting that information to us. And if you had a different tool that we could suggest to the group, I would be happy to spread the word.
Yeah, no additional tool, but we'll work on it. I guess another question I think that the public should ask, at least coming from me, is if we don't complete the life cycle cost analysis tool or use that for our proposals, because it just isn't the right item to make those cost analysis or cost impact statements are our proposals going to be rejected? I know that's some concern. There's been some talk at the SBCC of reasons to, hey, maybe we shouldn't, this is false. We shouldn't accept these proposals. I've actually heard that at a tag meeting before, where they didn't agree with the cost impact statement, so they thought they shouldn't have to listen to the entire proposal. So that is a concern. So hopefully you can address that. Again, the cost impact information is vastly expanded or is expanded. And if there's a bigger push for this, then as you're correct, Dustin, this tool sucks for a lot of the proposals. And hopefully we're not going to get kicked off for not using it. Thanks.
No, so we're going to be doing the best we can with the tools that we have available to us in the code proposal form for item A. If preferred, you may submit an alternate life cycle cost analysis. If you have alternate resources available to you, we can utilize those. And I think that information coming in is information coming in. Kind of evaluating the veracity. If you've got like astronomical numbers, we might ask for a little bit more detail on that. But I would say that to reject it on just the merit of the venue or the vehicle that you're delivering it in is not going to be something that we're going to be entertaining. And if there's questions, we'll ask the questions and hopefully get better information. The main goal is to make better reports so that the public can see what's going on and make informed decisions about maybe how they want to testify or submit alternate proposals in the future. Awesome. David?
Oh yeah, this is David McGee with the Earthquake Valve Company. Sorry, I came in a little bit late. But one of the questions I had for you was on this report here. When I submitted my claim, or not my claim, my building code proposal, I gave specific scenarios of what seismic shutoff valves cost for certain sized piping on buildings. Is there an area on the sheet where you can provide difference, like some jobs cost more, some installs cost less? Is that better annotated down in the B section of the form, or is there somewhere in here that I could address that?
So you can address that using this tool. I would say if you have different scenarios, you can use the baseline input, alternate 1 input, or alternate 2 input. Don't let the titles fool you. Like we are bending this tool to the need of the Building Code Council. We're not necessarily following its exact intended use. So you could use these different alternate inputs in here to illustrate different scenarios. Or another option you have is you could put different scenarios on different lines. If you missed the very beginning, David, you come over here to the very top left of the form, and there's a drop-down menu that lets you view all kind of template style material. If you had scenarios that don't fit into any of these descriptions here, I would say scroll all the way down to the bottom of the template scenarios, and there's big other sections. So you could maybe potentially put in here, seismic shutoff valves there, and then you could illustrate potentially different scenarios in these sections here, and then you would generate multiple lines on the output report. Wait.
Yeah, my one concern is it seems like, obviously people are filling these out to the best of their ability. I think this is what the question is kind of saying. We're not going to be rejecting people's items on here, what they come up with, unless something seems, very obvious to the most casual observer. I mean, it's pretty much estimated. It's like anything, you estimate a cost on something, what it would be. It's not our role to 100% verify all these items, is it? Or is that something we're going to have to do in the review process of people's proposals. I'm just curious how that's
No,
going.
that is not the intent or the charge of what we're doing here today, or in the review of proposals. What we're looking for is more information, and I'm trying to provide a tool that was voted on by the council to get that information in here, so that the work to identify some of these numbers comes from the people making the proposals, not from staff just guessing at the end of the uh code adoption cycle. As we're drafting these reports up, there was some that came in last year that I had a hand in that I had no information, but they clearly had economic impact. And so we were looking how we get this information up front instead of on the back end.
Right. Thank you very much. That makes sense, actually.
Ken?
So when I know that the Building Code Council had worked on revising their bylaws, and in the bylaws under technical advisory group, at least the last one that I saw, there's a number 8 that talks about when reviewing proposed amendments to the codes, the tags shall use a standardized accepted methodology, blah, 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 and shall report those findings to the work group on economic impact. How does this all play? Or to me, that means that we're supposed to be in the tags using this form or something else, and then reporting to the work group on economic impact. Was that changed?
This has not changed. As I stepped into my role here, speaking with my predecessor, it's apparent to me that this step hasn't been happening within the Code Council. I have not had attended a meeting of the Economic Impact Work Group since being here in 2022.
So
so
how
we-
so how I'm looking at this is, if we're not doing it under the direction of the Building Code Council, then why are we directing the public to do this with their proposed code changes? That's, I guess, a question back to the Building Code Council, but just
So
a
the
little
Administrative
bit.
Procedure Act requires us to develop the small business economic impact statement and the cost
Requires whom to do it?
whoever's making not proposals, but as we're doing rulemaking, we have to provide those statements. And as a proponent of a rule change, you're going to be the expert that has the information as far as giving us the numbers. So the council staff is the ones who have been generating the reports, but we need the information to be able to do so.
Okay, but again, we still don't have a work group on economic impact, and the tag can ask them to do this work. That's in that, what you're showing there on the number 2, I think.
Yes.
Shall conduct research upon request of a tag. So if a tag said, hey, we would like you to conduct research, then all of a sudden the chairs of all the tags are going to have to convene and become this work group. I mean, I know, is this something just hasn't been done in the past, right?
As far as I know, I don't have any history on previous gatherings of that work group.
Well, hopefully Roger does.
I don't. I have been here about as long as Dustin, so I think, Ken, at the end of the day, the proponent of the proposal needs to provide an economic impact. That's what we're trying to get at from this.
But if staff's questioning it, is it then the responsibility of the tag to help verify it?
And I'm speaking from my understanding or opinion, not not reflecting anything from the Code Council itself. My opinion would be the proponent provides a economic impact statement. The tag would look at this statement, at those, and I think for any of them that are done using this methodology, it's pretty straightforward. We understand it. If there is another methodology, the tag would look at it and say, yes, this looks like they've done it at least a reasonable, it's a reasonable methodology, and we would pass it along. If there really was something that we took exception to at the tag level, then I think that we would bring that up, and the methodology would be to the standing committees. is the tag would pass along something saying, all right, here we would voted on this proposal, we turned it down because we questioned the economic impact statement, and that would go to the standing committees to address.
Okay, I'm just reading the bylaws verbatim, and I'm just trying to figure out, I'm participating on the tags, but I've never supported my findings to the work group on economic impact. I haven't seen them ever developed. So I don't know if that'd be something that we have to figure out why do we have it in the bylaws if we're not doing it at all? And it's just being ignored.
Well,
Maybe
Go
Mike has more, he's been there on there longer than I have.
I don't have an answer to that, Roger. Unfortunately, I had some opinions that may concur somewhat with Ken. There's been a lot of concern about the economic impact and the additional information that is now requested. And there's been a whole lot of concern on the tags rejecting code changes based on the economic information when really that's a hard thing to do. And I know I probably shouldn't bring up the legislation, but I will anyway. That item that I mentioned to you, Roger, on the new legislation for the SBCC, that section 7, I want to say it was 3, that indicated that if it's not approved by the tag, that the SBCC cannot take up that proposal for consideration. If that's only based on the economic statement, then that is really a problem and not the technical merits of the code. So I'm struggling with this too. I agree with Ken on this one, actually, that the proponents usually have limited background in the cost of these things. I know that sounds crazy, but that does occur. A lot of it, a lot of us that do the technical code development are not in the industry. Roger, honestly, Roger, you would probably have better background on the cost based on your history and where you work than a code official would. We may, understand the technical side of it to some extent better, but the cost, we don't always have that information. And I got to be honest with you, it's very tough to get that from folks. We do outreach a lot. It'll be all over the map depending on whether or not they like the code change proposal from people that we do outreach to. And that's just the nature of the business. Some folks don't want to know how they formulate their cost findings and don't want to share those with the code officials for some reason. So it's a really tough situation. I think we're going to do the best we can, but I would, like to see the SBCC explore options where, hey, the staff maybe can reject proposals based on economic impact, but the tag could not. I mean, that's a big concern for me. I'll stop talking. Thanks.
Wait, I see your hand up, but I would like to respond to Micah, and I'm trying to figure out where my comments are coming from, personal, or I am the assistant chair for both the IBC and the IFC tags. I would never see the tags, in my opinion, rejecting something purely because of the economic impact statement. I think the tag would approve or disapprove based on the technical merits. If they approved it on technical merits, but had questions about the economic impact, I would then pass that up to the standing committees. That's my own personal understanding and how I would approach it as the assistant chair of both tag committees. So I would agree with you. I don't think that the tag, if it's purely just because we don't agree with the economic impact statement, I would think that would be, pushed up the ladder for review. If it's a technically sound proposal, but there's questions about the economic impact, we would push it up the ladder. It's my opinion.
I appreciate your opinion on that, Roger. That's not been the case in the past always. It's been kicked back for economic impacts proposals that I've represented, as well as item 6 on whether or not it meets the specific criteria. That was a whole debate. And I appreciate your position on that. Hopefully that will expand into the other tags as well, and this won't be too much of an issue. Although I understand the economic impact needs, it's just tough to get that information for some of the folks that develop these proposals. And, we talk about the barriers to participation. This just adds to it. Thanks.
And I guess I just follow up with, before I call on you, Hoyt, I'm sorry. We're looking for information. I guess, we're looking for more input from the proponents. When we were drafting the reports at the end of the code cycle last period, a lot of the proposals didn't have the information, and, as not someone who was savvy with the reasons why certain proposals were being made. I didn't have the background knowledge to even start to guess at, what the impact would be, and, how it affects everybody in there. So I'm just, as far as staff needs go, we're looking for some information to help us draft these reports in a more robust way, that doesn't have a lot of the similar statement, for proposal after proposal, that it has small, impacts, but there's no quantifiable information in there. So we're just hoping to have a little bit more specific information. And I would, s- agree with Roger and Micah that, just rejecting based on economic impact statements and the veracity of the information in there is not something I'm interested in entertaining. But if there are, like I said, questions on, astronomical numbers, like, either zero or something that's way overboard, which I would say that we're likely to get information that says there's no economic impact when it appears that there actually is, versus the opposite side of that coin. We're just looking for a little bit more to begin. We need the seeds to do this report, or else it's a major undertaking for staff to get them out there in a timely manner. Yeah, Hoyt.
Yeah, I think the point of this, and what I remember, and I could remember wrong, I mean, imagine a code proposal coming in and they say you have to use stainless steel everywhere and you have to use gold countertops in the kitchen or something like that. Well, that's a cost thing that's gonna and make it a requirement. I think the intent of this and on the building code is to kind of make people, when they're looking at these and reviewing it and approving them, is kind of also kind of have a methodology of looking at what kind of costs something's going to do, what it's going to entail that's required. I think that's, but exactly what you said earlier, you're not going to turn down something for something the cost, but it's just trying to give the proponent to kind of give some kind of realistic, to the best of their ability, and then us being able to review it, say, yeah, that makes sense, or something like that. But I agree. I think, Dustin, things I don't think are turned down 100% based on a proposal's cost estimate. It's usually turned down by the proponent's reason statement or other expertise that are in the committee that says why something should be done or should not be done. And that's just based on my experience. But that's what I think. That's why I think number 8's in there. So you got an idea of what kind of cost. I mean, imagine, like I said, you have to use diamond handrails and stairways for all residential buildings. I mean, that obviously would be a huge economic impact, even though you could show it meets code or something. I think that was the intent of it, and that's a real exaggeration when I said on that. I hope that makes sense.
Before we go further, we're about to run out of time. Could we entertain a motion to extend for 10-15 minutes? Dave?
Can I I can make a motion, because yes. Yes, I'd like to extend the meeting for another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Hoyt. All those in favor of extending for 10 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Regrets, I'm gonna have to sign off. I got another meeting. There's a
All right,
bill.
thank you for your attendance, Bill. I
I've
guess-
got to sign off as well, Dustin.
Okay, thank you for being here, Roger. I guess, Dave, go ahead.
I was just gonna pass on that, that I was actually on the Building Code Council before this model came about. And just as the history of this, we always had some challenges with some of the proposals, but the proposals were accepted on their general merit. The proposer provided as clear of information as they could for economic analysis. Very rarely did we pull something to the side, or we sent something back to get a little bit more information. I think that the model has just made it worse. So it's just discouraging people from even making proposals to it. So I'm hoping the council will take that into consideration and let's open this back up to where we could have more participation and yeah, we can work the economics a little bit later on, but it's just unwieldy at this point.
Micah?
Thanks, Dave. I agree. It does cause
No,
some
no
additional.
way.
Yeah, I know. Come on, I do agree with you quite often, but I
We
do
do.
agree this poses barriers again, especially for simple proposals that still may have cost impact. This is just a lot of work. It's not a major issue, but I think it's something we can address. And then I know we're over time. I did have a question, and I brought this up at the past council meetings, but since we're on the topic of cost impact, again, I'm going to ask if we're going to modify the bylaws to align with the actual process. The bylaws talk about that all amendments are supposed to have an economic impact statement. So we're not doing that for the amendments that are carried over. At least the tag is not. I'm not sure the staff is. And that, again, we're starting with a model code. The base model code is required by law, and then we're amending it. Whether that's an amendment, we're saying, hey, we're still agreeing with this amendment from last cycle. It's still an amendment, but economic impact of that is not being addressed. And that shifts over time. Maybe that needs to be looked at as part of our bylaws. I know it's just additional work, but again, maybe it's just we need to change the bylaws to match the process that we're not looking at the economic impact of carrying over existing amendments. Thanks. And thanks for putting on this training, Dustin. It's helpful.
You're very welcome. And Micah, just as do you have a point in the bylaws you could point me to on that one real quick so I can look into it and just check it out? So if it's something we need to do, I'd like to do it.
Don't have it open. I will pull it up and send you that section.
Okay, awesome. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? I'm seeing no hands coming up and I'm hearing no voices. So I will render this meeting adjourned. And I appreciate everybody for coming here today. Expect to package out first thing in the morning with the documents we spoke on today. And if you have questions or any needs, by all means, reach out to me, Rosanna or Annette, and they'll be happy to get you the assistance you need.
Thanks, Dustin.
You guys are all welcome and have a good rest of your day. And if we don't see each other, a good weekend. I know it's early in the week though, but always looking forward to it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
That's my stuff.